So far, if you've been following along, we have covered complete dominance, incomplete dominance, codominance, and now we're going to look at sex-linked traits. Pedigree, you should know, kind of covers all these, so pedigree is something a little different. We could even put a line here. But these are the 4 types of inheritance of diseases or traits, and we're going to look at this one right now. So here is an example, and it reads, a female who is a carrier for color blindness and a normal male want to know their chances of having a colorblind baby. Now, first instinct is to just rush along and do it, right? And when you get better at these and you're really, really good, that might be okay. But right now, we're going to do it step by step. And the first step is our setup. And we're gonna list basically a key with all the different genotypes and phenotypes. And it can be a little bit different than the other keys because we're now looking at male and female. Okay, color blindness is known to be a recessive, and basically everything sex-linked that we're looking at is recessive. So we are basically setting up a complete dominance key, but we're also adding the male and the female. And if you don't remember complete dominance, look at the first video and you'll see a key for that. But this is what it basically looks like. Okay, you're going to have R, that would be like a healthy individual. You will have RR, that's a carrier, and a small r, that's a recessive, that would be an infected person. So if this wasn't sex-linked, that's what we would put for the phenotypes possibly. We might put it like this. Normal, and that's how they say it, basically. That's what they call it. Carrier. And they could call this normal too because it's not going to be showing. This person's going to look normal, but they are a carrier, so that's how I list the phenotype. And this one is infected. Okay, so that would be a traditional complete dominance key right there. Your phenotypes and your genotypes. But we need to add the sex in because this is known to be linked to the 23rd chromosome, the X chromosome. Okay, so just to be clear, your body, all humans, have 1, 2, 3, all the way to 22, and then 23 pairs of chromosomes. So there's 2 for each. So we have 46 chromosomes total because we have 23 pairs. 1 comes from your mother and 1 comes from your father. Okay, so that'd be like chromosome 1. Chromosome 2, 1 from your mother, 1 from your father. Chromosome 3 would be 1 from your mother, 1 from your father. So you go all the way, 1 from your mother, 1 from your father. And you have 23 pairs, which makes 46. But there's something very interesting about this last chromosome called chromosome 23, otherwise known as sex chromosome. Because the sex chromosome, it determines your sex. And it is either going to be XX or XY. So you notice that all the other ones, it's the exact same. 1, 2, 1 from the mother, 1 from the father. And this isn't any different. 1's from the mother, 1's from the father. But notice that if you're a female, you get 2 X's. And if you're a male, you get an X and a Y. So this is what we have for female. That's what we have for male. So all of these other chromosomes right here are different than the last one, the 23rd one. So you have 23 pairs, 46 total, and there are 2 types of chromosomes. What we call the autosomes, or autosomal chromosomes, and the sex chromosome. So you have one of 2 types. You have autosomes. Most of them are autosomes. These are going to give you all your traits like your hair color, your eye color. Everything about you is mostly with your autosomes. And then you have the sex chromosome, which primarily determines your sex. But the X chromosome is much bigger than the Y chromosome. So it's your X, and let's just say the Y is like tiny. Okay? You can think of like the Earth versus the Moon almost, right? The Y chromosome is known to have 200 genes, and that's not a lot when you look at entire chromosomes, really. So there's other things that are linked to this X chromosome, like, for example, color blindness, baldness, hemophilia is linked onto X. So X does more than just determine your sex, but primarily the 23rd chromosome is determining your sex, and there are some other genes on the X chromosome. Why? pretty much only determines if you're going to be a male or not. So that's kind of how it works. So let's add the X's and Y's into here. So if you're normal female, you're going to be RR. Remember, the R is on that X chromosome. So the R is on the X chromosome. So we have two X's, two large R's, normal female. Normal male, and this is where the male only gets one X. So only one normal chromosome, and then the Y, which has nothing for this trait. There are, as you get into more complex genetics, you could study more what's on the Y. But for the most part, for what we're doing, the Y doesn't have anything on it that we're looking at. Okay, the carrier, and this is interesting, the carrier for a female is R, little r. But I'm going to try to do the carrier for the male. Take a look. I only have one place to put an R, and to be a carrier, you have to have two. You have to be a heterozygote. So I cannot make a carrier, because if I put a little r, that's an infected male. Okay, and if I put a big R, it's a healthy male. It's not a carrier. So you can't have a carrier male with an X-linked disease, for example, like color blindness. Now, an infected female would be R, and an infected male would be R, like that. So the male tend to be more impacted because they only get one X. They only get one chance to have a healthy R. You only need one big R, capital R, healthy allele to mask the little one. So these females can see in color. This one female can't, and then this male can't. But this is much more likely because the male only has one chance. It's only got one X. The female usually gets two, so it gets two chances to get a big R. So in general, sex-linked traits and diseases tend to impact the males more than the females. Okay, so we have our key, and I like to make, like, for example, little symbols. So like the normal we will circle, and the carrier we're going to put a dot, and then the infected put an asterisk. Okay, so that will come back later to help us. Let's do the problem now. So one, we're going to do the parental cross. Parental cross. So what we always start with, don't just rush to the Punnett square. You're going to do the parental cross, and that is a color. Let's see here. Who is a carrier? We have a carrier, a female who's a carrier. Can't have a male, right? And a normal male. So we know the carrier is that one. We have the X, R's, right? XR, and then the normal male. X, R, Y, normal male. This is our parental cross. Let's do now step 2, which is the Punnett square. And I like to just drop this one down. XR, XR, right? And then this one, I just drop right here. And you don't have to do it in that order, but that's the way I do it. I put, this case, the male's on top and the female is on the left here. Okay. Now we just do the cross, and usually you want to always put the X first. So when we do this, let's just do the X's and Y's first. So we have XX. You always put the X on the left if you have a choice. You don't put the Y on the left. It's always XY. So X, Y. And then over here, X, 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 Y. Now let's put the genes in. Usually I will do it together, but I'm just trying to make it really clear. If we have a choice between a large capital R or lowercase r, we always put the capital first. Okay, so R, R. In this case, this X is the one, right? So R. Okay, then we're gonna, this is this X, and then that X, and that X. Okay? Now let's circle the normal. The males have a capital R and a Y. That's a normal male. Let's circle the carriers, capital R, little r. There's a carrier. I don't see any other carriers. And then let's do the infected. So right off the bat, we now know that if this cross right here, the chances of having a colorblind baby would be 50% basically. 50% or 25% a female infected baby, 25% male infected baby. Okay, so we were going to write that in number 3 here. So genotypic ratio, you're going to go, you know, because there's so many options, what you do on a decision, you pretend like you're a doctor, and you're talking to two patients. You have a mother and a father, and they're asking you, what are my chances of having a colorblind baby or a carrier? So when you answer a sex link, it's much easier if you just stick to the phenotype, and you just go like this. You go, well, 25% chance carrier female. Like you're talking to the patient. It's a little bit different than the other Punnett squares because there's just so many variables. Okay, 25% infected male. Normal male. That's a normal male. Normal male. Look what I did here. I messed this up, right? This should be a dot, right? Because that's a carrier. That's normal. So, okay. So, but I wrote it right. So there you go. Okay, and 25% chance infected female, and 25% chance infected male. This is what you would tell them if you were their doctor, right? You have a 25% chance of being a carrier female, 25% of being a normal male, and basically a 50% chance of being an infected female or male. Now, fourth step is the check. And see, I already had a mistake there that I caught on the way, but let's check anyway. Did I count these right? So I have one, I should have one of each. One of these, one male infected, one female infected. It's 50%. One normal male and one carrier female. Did I do it correctly? I see that's a normal. I see that's a carrier. That is a carrier male, a carrier female. Did I bring the R's over correctly? R, capital R, lower R, capital R, Y, lower R, Y. So it looks like I got those correct. And lastly, did I get the parents? And the way we do the parents is we describe the parents in words, in our own words without looking. Then we look at the question and see if it matches. So I am saying I have a carrier female crossed with a normal male. Let's take a look at the question now. A female who is a carrier for color blindness and a normal male. So it looks like I have the parents correct. This answer should be correct. I hope that helps. You really have to practice these. I would do it step by step in the beginning, and I wouldn't skip any of this until I get really, really good, and then you'll be ready for those pedigrees, which you will be doing last.